podcast or vlog where I talk all about my knitting projects and plans and how we kind of create community and put ourselves into the world by the things that we make. I am super excited to be back again. It's like all of the fall rev up and energy, and it's the first week of October, which just feels really real and special. I have a lot of progress and updates. It's so much color work you would not believe. I'm also moving forward with this beginner's hat project and pattern, so I'm going to be talking a little bit about that. And it's actually kind of funny. I was looking at everything and it was like we have very kind of entry-level stuff and really like kind of beautiful, joyful things that we can make with just the most simple tools, the most simple projects, the most simple stitch patterns, and they can be so rewarding and so much fun, all the way to doing things I've never done before. And as I said to my husband the other night, this is the hardest thing I've ever done in knitting. So it really runs quite a wide gamut, I would say. I'm going to talk about first my finished object that I'm wearing today, and then get into all the nitty goodness. I'm going to talk about this and then I might actually change because it is a very warm day here in sunny Northern California today. It is like kind of getting towards, we're getting to the end of our what we call kind of real summer, because it can be so gloomy here in proper kind of June, July, and even into August. Like September is really the like warmest month of the year up here, and it's definitely a warm day today. So I will talk about this first. This is my turtle dove, and it's a pattern by Melissa Kudrow from Sonder Yarn. I loved making this. The gauge is really open and easy and beautiful. The fabric it makes is super light and wearable. I knit mine with 2 strands of Birdie from the Lamb & Kid and 1 strand of a fingering weight yarn that's made with bunny fur from a rescue farm in Oregon, spun up with a little bit of linen. So I cannot tell you just how, again, like open, wearable this is. It is a pretty warm day. You can see that halo is pretty amazing. That's from the Birdie, but it's also, once I hadn't, to be honest, I did not do a proper like wet blocked swatch. I just watched my gauge as I started casting on this project, and so I was really surprised and super delighted by how the linen and bunny blend just like bloomed in a really interesting way and just added this wonderful kind of more complicated halo effect. It also is not a bright color. It's really, you can see the marl there where the bunny linen has almost a taupey brown to it. And I think that creates a dimension and a level of sophistication, particularly with this color, so that it doesn't read as too kind of, you know, like Eastery. It's much more sophisticated, which I love. I knit this up according to pattern. I went down 1 needle size. I believe I used size 7 and it calls for size 8 US needles. And I did the twisted rib. I was nervous about my ribbing at the bottom being a bit short. I did play yarn check-in and barely made it with my sleeves, which now after blocking are like plenty long. I was nervous that that was going to be an issue, but they're actually like probably maybe an inch, not too long, but they're definitely, there's no worries in terms of length there. I probably could have put another centimeter or 2 on the bottom here. But again, post-blocking, it drapes really beautifully and wears really well. I did get a couple comments that people, especially with cardigans, wanted to see pictures of them. So I took a couple like very casual snapshots just before I sat down. So I'll pop some of those up here so you can see what it looks like wearing it on. This collar, I think there's instructions for how to kind of crochet it so it stands up, but frankly, I like it a little more open. And I just think I'm gonna wear this all of the time. It's just off the blocking mats. It's actually a little warm still from the sun. And I love it. I would absolutely make another one of these. I have plans to, just because again, the gauge is so easy. The pattern is really intuitive. And I think that this twisted rib integrated button band, it's meant to be an open cardigan, so there's no actual button attachments. But it creates this really lovely frame to, you know, this kind of wide raglan that could feel more like a shawl or like kind of drapey, but with this edge work, I think it makes it kind of sharper and much more versatile in terms of kind of wearing it both quite casually, and then also you could definitely dress this up. I was thinking over like a beautiful kind of silk shift. It could be really nice. So yeah, I love this. This again is the Turtle Dove cardigan by Melissa Kudrow. And with that, I am gonna swap it out and put on a lightweight top. I'll be right back. That is definitely better, much more appropriate for an 80-something degree day. It was cool in the morning, but then it got really, really warm right around midday. And I'm filming this right before I go pick up my kiddos at the end of the day for school. So the next thing I want to talk about is like, it's a little story time. For those of you guys who have been here before, you might remember over the winter, I went to, a friend had a favorite things party that we did for this women's group that I'm in. And it was basically everyone bring your favorite thing under a certain amount of money, like something that you use and that you love. And so I brought my favorite cuticle cream, which looks quite fancy, but is so amazing and it lasts for years. It's incredible. I'll link that below too if that's helpful. And I thought, you know, I'll just whip up a quick hat also for that. And I had made recently over Christmas a hat for my husband. I don't even know if I've shown this one before. And I really liked the gauge, but he wears it all the time. It was just a little bit pointy, and it was a way to use this amazing yarn combination that I discovered at Ritual Dyes. So Ritual Dyes is a hand dye studio and shop in Portland, Oregon, and I've been there a number of times during the Rose City Yarn Crawl. My brother lives in Portland. Whenever I go up there, I always have to swing by and see what they have in store. And they have a lovely Rambouillet wool called Elder, and I believe it's all sourced from New Mexico. I could be wrong about that, but that's what I remember. It's a really kind of spongy feeling yarn. It has a really nice toothiness, blooms beautifully, and I had knit a hat that they had recommended with one strand of that Elder and one strand of their mohair, and I thought that the fabric it created was really, really like the perfect hat fabric. It's dense and fluffy, but it still has a really nice kind of finished look to it. I had another combination of the same yarn. Here it is. This is the Elder light worsted and held with the same color. This is quartz in the mohair, which they call Faye. And I had another combination of these hanging out, and I thought, oh, I'll just whip up a hat for someone to do this, you know, it was like a Secret Santa style exchange for the favorite things party. And so the hat, the cuticle cream was appreciated, but the hat like really took off, and it was actually the most traded thing at this big group of women. And as we were leaving, someone said, well, could you teach us how to make this hat? And I said, like, absolutely, sure. And the women that I have the great pleasure of spending a bunch of time with and you know, seeing during these monthly women's group meetings, they are doers, okay? They don't just say casually like, hey, would you teach us how to knit it? They say, great, we're putting you on the calendar. What do we need to do? So the hat that I had made for women's group was kind of modified from this. Instead of it being sectioned off into 4 quadrants, it had a more kind of star-like decrease, and it was knit a little bit of a, I think the gauge is probably the same, but I did the decreases a little bit differently, and I really loved the shape of it. So then I had to decide, well, am I gonna write up something that I actually made so that they can make this exact same hat, or should I kind of go try to find another pattern? So first I went looking for another pattern, and hat patterns are really interesting. You know, there's some really great free resources. Pearl Soho has a really nice ribbed hat resource, but the gauge on theirs is quite small, and I don't like the way the decreases work. I think it kind of creates this weird, not weird, but not my favorite kind of, it's almost like a spiral. And then the Roku hat, which I had knit and really enjoyed, has a more interesting decrease, but is definitely written for someone who knows how to read a pattern. Also the gauge was different, and just probably not a great fit. In any case, that's not what I did for this other hat, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna write it all out. And the good thing about writing it all out was then I actually wrote out, like, instead of just kind of decrease or how to do it, I made little videos for them. I wrote out all of the different decrease instructions and included all the numbers, and anyway, we had this super fun evening. I brought in my friend Megan, who helped teach everyone, my friend Laura's mom. Hi Nancy, if you're watching, from New York. She was in town and she helped teach everyone also how to knit, and basically within a few months we had 12 finished hats, and it was so much fun. It was like a total joy to watch people take up the craft and learn how to do it, and yeah, it was just really, really fun. So I had mentioned in a previous episode that I did want to eventually write up the pattern properly, and now I guess I can share the ones you guys have probably seen before. Here's the finished hat. These are the decreases. This is the same yarn, and I did do a giant order for everyone who knit this in my women's group. So everyone used the elder and a strand of mohair to create the gauge. And I just pop it on. And this is the one. This one's a little bit shorter. It's more kind of close to the head, and obviously you can adjust the length. And this one has a little bit more room at the top. Boom. I kind of love this one. It's pretty fun. In any case, life happened, and even though I wrote up the pattern, I hadn't done anything with it. But now that we are approaching gift season, I am really, really keen to publish this on Ravelry and get it out into the world. I am very lucky in that I had 12 test knitters who were amazing, because most of them hadn't knit or finished a project before, so that was really great. I did get a little bit of feedback and was able to make modifications, but one of the things I love about kind of putting this pattern together more officially is that I realized that it's great for beginners, and it's good if someone wants, you know, I want this kind of gauge, I want this looking hat, I want it to kind of be simple and easy, but you know, look like a kind of sophisticated, more store-bought finish, or I want to express a really special kind of yarn and keep it really simple. It is not groundbreaking. This is not like a change your life situation, but it is so tried and true. I would still love for folks to preview knit this, especially if there are more experienced knitters who would like to take a crack at it. So I've included a link in the description box below If you could fill out that form, I will send you a copy of the pattern before it goes live, and I would absolutely love your feedback. And I also was thinking it'd be a really fun chance to gather people together in a little Instagram group chat. So if you would like to knit the Beginner's Welcome hat sometime in October, please do click that link. I'll send you the PDF and add you to the group chat, and we can hang out there. Again, I think the ethos of Beginner's Welcome is that it is incredibly straightforward but highly detailed, great first project or a great project to gift to someone else, because again, with the gauge and the kind of ease of the knit, I think it's a really nice instant gratification project. And I think that about does it. I'm excited to put this out into the world, and you know, like I said, I know what this is, and I also know what this is not. This is not reinventing the wheel in any way, but I do think that it's a great resource, and if it's something that you're interested in making and playing with, then please do sign up and I'll send you the link. So thank you guys. I'm again really excited also to have something that I feel like is really entry level, that spreads the joy of this craft for anybody and everybody. So that is Beginner's Welcome. What is next? Okay, from the entry level knit, which is still so satisfying. I am very excited to make a bunch more of these hats, to, as I mentioned before, truly the hardest thing I've ever done in knitting. And I'm talking about the Seaton Sweater by Marie Wallin. So folks who were here last time, and if you haven't watched last time, please run back and check it out. It was a video all about preparing for fall knits and potentially Rhinebeck outfit knits. I can confirm I'm going to Rhinebeck in just a couple weeks. I'm so excited. I'm going with my friend Megan, and we are just gonna have so much fun. I'm truly over the moon excited. We actually met up yesterday for a little knit hang and final plan making. So where do I start? Just a quick recap. In that episode, I talked about putting together an outfit with a very bright orange skirt, cobalt tights, and a cool all over colorwork, oversized sweater. I had a color palette picked out with oranges and navies and light browns and cool blues, and I was very excited about the whole thing. And I was looking at patterns. So the last part of that episode is really all about kind of doing a big pattern review of colorwork sweaters, particularly drop shoulder colorwork sweaters. The one I really fell in love with is the Seaton Sweater from Marie Wallin's latest book. It's called Erin. I've had the book for, I don't know, since it came out, which I believe was early this year or late last year. I've only looked at the pictures. And I really fell for it, and I was like, yes, okay, this is the sweater that I'm making. But as I started pulling colors for that sweater, I realized, first of all, that the limited palette that I had to create that really high impact, really strong, heavy contrast garment that I was looking for the kind of splashy outfit idea, those were not Marie Wallin colorwork sweater colors. They just weren't. And that's okay. And so what did I do? I said to myself, ¿por qué no los dos? Why not do both? So that's what I did. And okay, I'm just gonna share this to you now. I'm a little bit nervous to even share this because I haven't blocked any of it yet. And there's a lot going on. Okay, So this is the Seaton sweater, heavily modified with 2 different charts. The construction is the same, and I have just hemmed the shoulders and cut my steeks for my arms. Where should I start talking about this? So, first of all, holding it up is making me very happy. Hello. This is very nice to see in the little viewfinder. Excuse me for not looking straight into the lens for a moment, because I'm looking at this viewfinder and I am able to read it quite nicely. I changed out 2 charts, so both this here and this chart repeats are different in the main pattern. I found these 2 charts in another Marie Wallin book. It's the same number of stitches and that per repeat, and that book is called Gentle. And so these are both of these charts are from that book. The rest of the colorwork sections and the knitting dims are from Erin. I guess I'll just start at the very beginning. One of the most challenging parts of this was picking my size. I knit a gauge swatch. I was bang on gauge. I was feeling comfortable. I was feeling confident. I cast on the number of stitches required, and even in my ribbing, I could tell it was going to be huge. And I wanted this to be obviously quite boxy and oversized, but if you can believe it, in the original size, this was actually gonna have 2 more repeats, and each repeat is about 4 inches. So this was gonna have 8 more inches of positive ease. And right now it has, I would say, between 8 and 10. So we were looking at 18 to 20 inches of positive ease per pattern on gauge. So that was a little disturbing. I don't know. At that point I was kind of like, not freaked out, but a little nervous because the schematics are incredibly basic. The pattern writing is very, it's not just that it doesn't hold your hand. I would say that it's very bare bones. And I am someone who came up in knitting patterns that were pretty explanatory and that had some of that hand holding. So for me, I was very nervous just at the ribbing, to be honest. But I started just kind of owning it and saying, okay, well, I'm just gonna be making a sweater. Like, I'm gonna be in charge of this. I'm gonna be making the sweater. I'm using the charts from the pattern. I'm using the basic layout. I'm gonna be, to use one of my favorite metaphors again, driving at night. You know, you can only see as far as your headlights in front of you, but you can go hundreds and hundreds of miles that way. So I decided to start my steek early because I had already done about 2.5, 3 inches of this bottom rib. And it was, again, about 8 inches wider than this. And so I cut it. First I decreased out the number of stitches I wanted, and then I mattress stitched those 2 pieces together and then cut the fabric. And I was like, okay, this is how we're getting started. I will say all of the colors in this sweater are from Stash except 2. Which I bought because I just felt that it needed a little extra something. And of course I only used them but for like 2 or 3 rounds. And that's this Peer Gynt, which I kind of fell for. It's a Sandusgarn natural wool. It's just like a very basic workhorse yarn. The colors are great. It's very reasonable and I really love it. I honestly want to make a bunch more colorwork sweaters with this. I really like how toothy and grabby it is. It plays well with others. The yarn I used at the very bottom is from Boilard's Orchard. Da, 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 da. And I think it's just going to be such a great frame for everything else that's going on. My goals for this sweater were, my color choices were, keep it lily but make it fall. So there's some teals and some pinks and some blues, but also lots of different colors of kind of cooler browns and this really amazing, not too purpley maroon. It's not popping very well on in that light. Here, let's see if we can get it here better. There we go. And that is actually from La Bien-Aimée. It's a Corey worsted. So I am messing around quite a bit with the thickness of the yarn. The Corey worsted is much thinner. But again, I think I was able to get that to come out really nicely in terms of the color differentials. Some are more high contrast than others. Again, kind of lower contrast in this section. And it was so much fun to really play once I kind of created the palette with a bunch of stash yarn. So the secret to the success of that was my little straw tray, which here I can try to hold up. It's kind of, I think they're all nestled, they won't fall out. Dee-dee! Isn't that the cutest? So I just kept this. This was definitely not a travel project. I had to stay very close to my little corner to be able to switch yarns so much. In a moment, I'll show you my ends and you will weep for me. But yes, it was just kind of pulling out different yarns at different moments. I did have some basic plans that I made when I redid the charts. So after I realized this was going to be something that I had to really kind of level up and take ownership over in order to feel even halfway successful about the project, I went online and I went to, I think it's called Stitch Fiddle or Chartminder. It was one of those two. And basically it's a service where you can create your own charts. In Marie Wallin's books, there are some really beautiful full color photography, like stunning full color photography. However, the charts are all written in black and white, which for me was incredibly challenging to read. That meant that each symbol, and I think there are 18 different colors, each of those symbols was a triangle or a square or a circle in the square or a half a circle or a half of a triangle. And for me, it was just visually really not as helpful. So what I ended up doing is creating a full chart of the bodywork in this little online program, and then I could change a full color of a section too, which was really nice. So I could kind of play with it visually even after I had done my swatching and kind of laid out the color groupings that I was interested in. And that's how I came across this really fun visual sequence of the kind of dark blue to light blue, back to dark blue, and then the brown into white and back into brown, which I use in this main section down here, and then repeat up top. My original reason for doing a different color section, colorwork section on top versus the bottom was because I didn't want this to get too big. I was worried that if it started getting lower than, much lower than my waist, that it was going to start to look kind of dress-like and tunic-y. And I love a good tunic, but that was not the vibe that I was going for with the sweater. And the sweater is actually supposed to be quite cropped. One of the things I've realized about myself is that I have a really, really short torso. Like my ribs and my hips are literally right on top of each other. If I bend just like a half an inch, they actually touch. So for me, I am cropping most of these sweaters, I realize, because if I don't, then they tend to look kind of, you know, dress-like and much longer. So I really was about kind of trying to take charge of the experience. I made this full chart, and then I just played with color, and I had such a really, really great time. I even loved putting in the extra steek stitches. That seemed like no problem. And then I knew I was gonna stop right at this edge once I was done. Hi. Hi, I'm sorry I ran out of memory. I've just switched it up. What I was saying, I think, is that I had gotten to the point with my Seaton where I was knitting, having just a joyous, joyful time. I knew that my colorwork flat section was coming. I was going to put in my neckline right when I was done with this top section here. And once I did, I was like, oh my goodness, what am I doing? Colorwork flat is truly challenging. For me, it was also because I was reading so much of the rest of the work. I wasn't really referring to the chart that often. I was really just reading my knitting. So I was really able to tell quite easily what was coming next. And it was much harder for me to kind of turn that around and do that on the reverse side. I did make it through though. And on the back, there's a full section here of that last repeat, which I think is quite lovely. And then actually the hardest, that even wasn't horrific. It was doable, and it was also quite short. It's not like it was a huge issue. The shoulder decreases, again, the way that it's explained in the pattern, I do not think is intuitive. I felt quite lucky because I had just done the shoulder shaping, bottom up shoulder shaping for my pressed flowers cardigan, which had a very similar, I think, at least I'm hoping that was a very similar process for doing the shoulder shaping. So that's basically what I did, because it was much easier to kind of have that reference point than to I kind of feel like I was really starting from scratch with the way some of the pattern was being described. And then the hardest thing was for me the seaming of the shoulders, because I didn't want a big bunch of fabric, so I didn't want to do a 3 needle bind off. I didn't want, you know, I was looking at basically like Kitchener stitch or master stitch, both of which I'm not super great at. And I wanted it to be strong enough too and reinforced enough so that it was going to hold the weight of a quite hefty garment. You know, 2 color work all the way through. It's not a super light object. And I feel fine about how it worked out. I will expose myself. Here we go. It is not perfect. This is my 3rd try, I think. I did 3 different renditions on this side and then 2 on the other. It was a little easier the second time around. It works. I was really trying as hard as I could just to make sure each stitch was with its kind of compatriot. So lining all of these up, I think this one is a little bit off. Not my proudest moment, but it works, it functions. I don't think it's gonna be too distracting once it's worn. I also, so I did that part, and by the time that was done, I thought, well, I gotta be able to try it on. So I'm gonna cut these steeks. I've steeked before, and I will definitely steek again. I have done it before for Cardigan, and I do think that that's a little bit more intuitive, at least for me. I'm kind of nervous about, so I did a little bit of felting on the steeked stitches before I cut, just to give myself a little bit more peace of mind. When it comes to knitting the sleeves, sorry, I realize like I'm just putting the inside of my head like out into the world, and I hope that this has been coherent at all. But I really don't want to knit the sleeves bottom up and seam them for two reasons. First, I am not confident that I'll be able to estimate my row gauge properly to have the correct length. My row gauge in particular, I saw shift quite a bit, and I will be doing my sleeves on small circulars, and I don't want to, knit much longer than I will need or much shorter than I will need. Secondly, again, the seaming is just not my strong suit, and I'm worried that it's gonna not look as finished and give the type of look that I'd like. So what I'd really like to do, and please tell me, you experienced steekers, I know you're out there, is it acceptable to pick up and knit down? Of course, I'm worried that if I pull on one of those stitches, it might do something to the steek and become unsecured. But at the same time, how else would I be seaming them? So am I missing something? Would it be truly awful to just, I have 3 stitches on either side. If I pick up right at 1, 2, 3, and I pick up the basically pick up a knit, like you would for a button band, is how I'm envisioning doing that, where you just like pick up a stitch like the bar in between 2 stitches in a row in a column and knit that. Is that crazy? Is this something that I could do? Because I'm, first of all, much more comfortable and confident in my ability to gauge the length that I'm gonna want. Particularly, another reason for that is that I know that as the sleeve grows, this is going to come down. It's going to pull this down. It's another reason that I'm not doing my collar yet, because once I add sleeves, it's going to add a bunch more weight to the garment. Sorry, it goes this way. That's going to add a bunch more weight to the garment, and getting that sleeve measurement is going to be a lot easier to do, to kind of get that more precise if I'm able to knit it going down instead of going up. That's my thought. I am aware that my V's will be facing the wrong way. I'm over that. I'm fine. I'm actually like, I really don't mind. I think it'll be fine. Love for people's input and advice there. What else happened with this? I also had a crisis, a bit of a crisis moment. When I was doing this color work, I changed to a smaller, up top, I changed to a smaller needle because I was worried about the, making sure that the shoulders wouldn't stretch out. And I noticed that there was a little bit of looseness, especially in this section here. You can kind of see there's a little bit of rippling here. I'm less worried about the stockinette rippling because of what happened with my twigs, and it just bloomed beautifully and I didn't have to worry about it. But you can see, I feel like the color work pops much better in these next 2 sections here on the smaller needle size. And I had a crazy moment when I was done with this second brown and blue segment where I thought, should I rip it all out and go down a needle size? No, I did not. I did not do that. And I'm really glad I didn't. I think that I'm really like happy and also very nervous. I'm really hoping that when this is all said and done, it feels like a really, you know, fall fantasy type knit that is also wearable and not too kind of loving hands made at home. I love a loving hands made at home moment, but I also want to be able to feel like this is kind of a proper thing. So that's a lot of words, but I'm also like deep in process with this. I don't know. Here's the thing. There's a lot of mystery here. There's a lot of new. There's a lot of things I've never done before. So I really don't know how this is going to end up. I do know that the yarn that I've used has been so much fun, and I'm really excited to both start to put this up by my neck. Oh my gosh, for the collar. I know that, again, this is Boiler's Orchard, and this is Ramendale CVM. And my friends Carmen and Jackie both were talking about this on their latest podcast, trying to explain the way this feels, because it is the most unique feeling yarn. I have also been trying to think about it. It is not oily. It is not lanolin-y. It's also not dry. To me, it feels moist. Not in a lanolin like Newton way, but in a like, are we sure this is all the way dry? I mean, it is all the way dry. It's never been wet, but there's something about it. It's so dense. It has almost like a viscosity to it. It is the most unique feeling yarn I have ever come across, ever. It is also totally rustic and super, super soft. So I have one more skein of this. It has amazing yardage. This is 360 for DK, 360 yards. And I really want to get more of this at Rhinebeck. Jackie mentioned that the shepherds are running out of the darker colors, but I'm kind of okay with that. And I'm really keen to see what they have and like squish it all at Rhinebeck. I would love maybe a really light gray, and just do a really simple pullover just in this that I could wear and just squish myself, squish it all day long. It really is something. If you can get your hands on this, and I know they vend other places besides Rhinebeck as well. I really, really, really recommend, just for the unique kind of fabric feel. Check this out. Some of the other yarns I'm using, I mentioned La Bien-Aimé's Corey Worsted. I use that for the maroon color, and also for this very punchy blue. The light blue and the navy are both from the Hello Stella Pride and Prejudice collection, which you're going to see a lot more of in just a second. And the real star of that is this incredible variegated neutral that is so amazing. I'm sorry, I forget the name of this. This is such a great, it's called Most Ardently. This is such a cool color. It does whatever you need it to do. So it looks really different in different contexts. You'll see it in the next piece as well. But that is the mid-range here in the colorwork gradient. So this light brown, this is actually the Elder that I was talking about before from Ritual Dyes. So this is Ritual Dyes Elder. This is Hello Stella's Most Ardently. And then this is just a bright white that I had in stash. And then again to Most Ardently, and then again to Ritual Dyes. And here you can see that caked up. I love this color. It's really, really nice. And this is interesting. I think because I wound this overly tight when I was caking it, it feels almost weirdly cottony in the cake, but as soon as you knit with it, it just goes, oh, I'm back. So that's just something to kind of be aware of for that. I mentioned the Peer Gynt, and what else? Lovely stash busting. This is the Croft from Shetland Woolworks. That's in there. Yeah, and it was really, really fun creating that little like paint box and pulling things out. Yeah, this is not a beginner knit. I don't think I could have probably done this to the extent that I have even this time last year. Like, I really think that, you know, our skills grow and things like that. And our eyes are sometimes bigger than our stomachs, or at least mine are. I might have bitten off a little bit more than I can chew. But I have 3 weeks to do both sleeves. I think that's very doable. I do love the gauge of this. DK colorwork is a super fun because it just goes so fast and you just want to get to that next section. So that is it. That's my Marie Wallin modified Seaton sweater, and you can see me in it on Saturday at Rhinebeck, running around, hopefully hanging out with sheep and hanging out with you guys. If it's done, I'm gonna be really excited about it. So that is that. Now, I did say porque no los dos. So this happens, and at the same time, I couldn't let go of the idea of this bright orange, cobalt blue, navy extravaganza. I just needed the right pattern to combine the limited palette that I had. And there was something in my queue that I knew I wanted to make at some point. And I knew I could make it oversized because all of my sweaters by this designer turn out giant. Yay! It's my Petite Knit Celeste Sweater, and I love her. This is genuinely one of the most fun knits I've ever done. I already have another one planned. I'm so excited about it, and I love my colors. I have used the main color is I've Been So Blind from Hello Stella, which is an incredible navy. And then I have a super bright orange, which is, where is that from? It's not Pure Gynt. It's, sorry, just a second, let me think. It is Knitting for Olive. So I had another orange that was more of like an ochre orange, and it was like kind of moody. I was like, no, this needs to be punchy, almost fluorescent, like iridescent orange. So Knitting for Olive actually has a great orange, and I snagged that, and it's yellowy orange. It's not a reddy orange. And then you might see our super versatile Most Ardently again. That's that neutral. And then I wasn't going to do this bright, shocking blue, but I had some stash yarn. This is actually Ching Fibers fuzzy, what's it called? Melted Baby Surrey. So this has like no business being in a rustic colorwork sweater, but the color was just so great, I couldn't say no. And I just threw it in there, and I'm so glad I did. It only comes up 3 times. So there's this teeny little row of 1 by 1 here, this like larger sequence here, and then this is just 2 little darts. But just those passages, I think, create such a great impact. I'm really happy with it. So much fun to knit. Just like, absolute popcorn, like so snacky. Gotta get to the next row, gotta get to the next section. And now I just have delightful, yummy colorwork in the round forever. Or sorry, stockinette, not colorwork. Stockinette in the round forever. So this is my commute knitting. I'm going away actually this weekend. We're going to New Mexico with the kids. We're gonna see the balloon fiesta, which is the launching of hundreds of hot air balloons all over in northern New Mexico. I'm very excited for that. We're gonna spend a night at a nice little getaway, my husband and I, in Santa Fe. It's gonna be great, and all that plane time, all that driving time, stockinette, baby. I've got it. So my hope and my plan is this thing will be done by the time that I'm back from my trip. And if not, it should just be the end of the cuffs and the ribbings should be pretty straightforward. And I'm really happy about it. The bright orange skirt has arrived. I still have my tights, which are this insane blue. I've got some brown boots. I think I'm just gonna do it. So if you see me on Friday, I will be the crazy lady. Friday will be, at Rhinebeck, will be my crazy lady day. I'm going to Cake and then Wallin Affair in the afternoon. So if you will be in the Rhinebeck area and attending either of those events, please come say hello. I would love any sort of reassurance that I'm not a total zany maniac, or any sort of delight in the zany maniacdom. That would be great. And again, so Celeste Sweater, I think I went through all the colors. I did. I love it. I'm excited. So these are my two fall, like high fall knits. I kind of can't believe how much, like, neither of these existed last time I filmed, so I feel like a little proud of that. But also I'm realizing I have 3 weeks to finish both of them. I think it's doable. The sleeves on the Seaton will be interesting, and I really do need to figure out how I'm going to do them kind of bottom up or top down. I don't know. What do we think? Please let me know in the comments what you'd advise. Where do we go from there? I can talk about what's next, because I do have to get my Rhinebeck knitting queue ready, because I'll be hopefully knitting on the plane and hanging out doing some knitting. It is not in here, the thing that I thought was going to be in here. Let me see if it's underneath all of this other stuff. This is the thing when you make your own kits. I could have sworn I made up a kit in here, but I didn't. Darn it. No. What did I do? Basically, I will be making another fleur shawl. I have some beautiful Sonder yarn. This incredible combination of their gray space and their mohair. So I think, and it's just garter, just back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and bobbles. So, sorry, sometimes I am so ridiculous. Back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and bobbles. That is definitely, it's already cast on. I thought it was in that bag. Now I'm nervous that I don't know where I put it. It's in her somewhere. It's in this big gal somewhere. I'm still working on my press flowers, little community of accountability moment. I have not started my sleeves. It is just not the moment. It is not the time. This is not what's happening. I will get it done. I really want to wear it. yeah, the shoulders, I'm so glad that I did these shoulder seams before embarking on, or these shoulder decreases rather, before embarking on the Seaton decreases. Also, man, it was just a giant tube. I'm just so glad it looks vaguely like a garment right now, because there was definitely a point over the weekend where I was like, what am I doing? Like, what have I created? Do you guys want to see the ends? Do you want to see them? They're really bad. I mean, I did some I did like weave them in as I went, but I'm also like completely paranoid, so I haven't cut any of them and I haven't braided them or done anything. Like, I'll just show you this. Yikes. I'll show you the floats though. The floats look pretty fine, if I do say so myself. Yeah, floats are looking good. But yeah, look at this, it's insane. It's so gross. Especially up here at the end where there was just like one row, but on either side, and now they're like right next to each other. What am I gonna do? The steek is looking secure. I'm happy about the steek. I'm glad that I felted it too, just for my own peace of mind. I don't have a sewing machine. I'm wondering if maybe I can take it to someone who has a sewing machine and we do one like safety round all the way. Do a safety round and then go in to pick up stitches. Do you guys think I need to do that? Please let me know. I know there's some steeking pros who are gonna just blow up the comments with all their best practices. What else? Haven't touched my satellite shawl. Need to do that. But the thing I'm really excited about casting on next, and maybe I'll do this even before I go to Rhinebeck and work on this instead of my fleur, because this is yarn I got last year at Rhinebeck. This is the Big Birdie from Lamb & Kid, and it feels amazing. And I'm gonna make a cloud sweater out of it. And I had thought that I was gonna make a marl with one strand of this and then one strand of this like really cool moody Nutidin. And I thought holding these together would just be so awesome. And it still does look really cool. It would make a funky marl. But after using the really deep burgundy on its own in my Seaton, I'm thinking that I might like a garment just in this color. Let me see if I can get it to, there it is. That's how it feels in real life. It's quite beautiful. So, I don't know. What do you guys think? Should I cast it on before I go? Just to have something really cozy? Or should I commit and finish these shawls? I should probably finish the shawls. That is basically that, my friends, my people. If you would like to be a preview knitter, please, please, please sign up in the link. Join our little crew. We're gonna make a bunch of hats for people we love. We're gonna teach people we love how to knit. Oh, we're gonna have so much fun. I'm really excited to, maybe I'll put some in here if I can get them from folks. You know, a bunch of people just texted me pictures of the hats that they made, and it was so much fun. I think one gal is actually on her 4th. And so she's got it. She's got the bug. It's happening. So yes, please, please let me know if you'd like to join our merry crew of beginners welcome hat knitters. And, you know, I do really recommend that yarn. I'll link to it down below too. The ritual yarn is really, really fun to work with, but it's totally not necessary. You could get gauge with anything and everything. I think holding things together is always fun. If you have a nice, think thick and chunky worsted that you, or Aran that you want to use for it, that's great too. Whatever you want to use to get your ribbing gauge, go for it. What else? I think that's it. I'm feeling good, feeling excited about Rhinebeck. I'm so glad I'm going. Next year I'm just planning to go. I'm not going to do any more of this wishy-washy nonsense. It's just happening. It's like going to already be booked, already be on the calendar. I love New York in the fall. So it'll be so much fun to get to play around in New York, be up at Rhinebeck and then both in New York City, and get that real, not quite New England, I guess New York counts as New England, right? Maybe not to folks from New Hampshire, but still, to get that fall feeling. I'm so excited to have my amazing colorwork pieces, or hopefully amazing. We're not quite there yet, but in any case, I've been talking for way too long, I'm sure. Thanks for sticking with me, for going all over the map from very beginning, kind of first time knitter projects, all the way through the steek extravaganza of a Marie Wallin knit, and everything in between. So thank you again for being here, for putting yourself out into the world with everything that you knit. And until next time, when hopefully I'll have a great recap from Rhinebeck, I'll see you later. Bye.